After last night's CNBC debate, people are weighing in with their thoughts about who they thought won the GOP debate and who could actually win it all together. Though Trump and Carson lead in the polls, some may argue that the smart money, at least the donor class money,
the money that matters.
He said it, might be on two other guys who actually have some political experience.
Right. Senators Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, I think, emerged as the front runners from those of us who think you need political experience to win the presidency. Chris Cillizza of the Washington Post, Jim Garrity of the National Review, also the Weekly Standard, Stephen Hayes, all had Cruz and Rubio in 1 and 2. Sean Trende of Real Clear Politics all declare, again, Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio the winner. To that point, let's bring in our roundtable. Rick Ungar, co-host of the Daily Wrap right here on Newsmax TV. Coming up very soon. Just go ahead and stay tuned for the rest of the show and wait for Rick. And also, Ford O'Connell, chairman of the Civic Forum PAC, is here with us as well to unpack the debate. Gentlemen, great to have you with us.
Can you hear us, Rick?
Good to be here.
All right.
I can hear you. Can you hear and see me?
Yes, I can. I just was looking at the expression on your face and wanted to make sure, you know.
All right. So guys, let's just live in a hypothetical world. The Trump phenomenon comes to a close.
Is that even possible? Okay.
Ben Carson doesn't really hang around much longer. I think it comes down to Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio if you look at last night's debate performance. If that's the case, Rick, Cruz or Rubio, who you got?
Well, look, I mean, I actually agree with you. I think most people do that those were the two who came through looking the best last night. I honestly didn't think there were any winners. It just was kind of a nothing debate, and I, like most people, very much blame that on the moderators. Look, I have always thought that Ted Cruz, who I will quite honestly tell you, scares the you-know-what out of me, but I've always thought that he had a very solid strategy for what he was trying to do. It's a smart strategy because while I may not be a big fan, I think the guy's really clever, and I think in some ways last night served as his coming out party, and he's going to go up from here. I think that the Democrats will beat him if he's the nominee in a general election. Rubio, I don't know. You know, yes, he presents himself extremely well. You know, if you close your eyes and you listen to him, you're pretty impressed. But when you open your eyes and you look at him, it feels like you're listening to the captain of the college debate team.
Well, the thing about Rubio, Ford, he is the most talented politician in the group. There's no question about that. He does very well in these debate-type performances. But after that, it's the policy, I think, that makes folks a little bit anxious about supporting him. What do you think?
Which policy would that be?
I don't know. Flip-flopping on immigration, his attempt...
He flip-flopped?
Yeah. The Gang of Eight immigration, and then he changes his mind about, oh, it's all about...
He sponsored a bill that he didn't vote for.
Right. That's what I'm talking. Thank you.
So you sponsor a bill that you didn't vote for because you wanted to find out whether or not the Democrats were actually serious about closing the border, and then you found out they don't care whatsoever. I actually give them kudos for actually trying to push legislation through in Washington and then realizing when the Democrats weren't dealing in good faith to back out. So frankly, in my opinion, I do agree with you, though, John, that when it comes to talk radio, the one mark against Marco Rubio is the word amnesty. I will say this. He has the most compelling personal narrative. He's telegenic. He comes from the state of Florida, the most important battleground state. He's got a lot going for him, but I do think that it's going to be a tough battle. And I do think that if we were basically having this discussion on paper and being logical about it, I do think we would come down to Rubio versus Ted Cruz.
All right. Well, let's, how about we bring Hillary into the conversation? You want to do that? This title from last week's New York Times, quote, "A Hillary Clinton matchup with Marco Rubio is a scary thought for Democrats." Then after last night's debate, a video from Hillary supporting Super PAC Priorities USA. Let's watch that.
Trying early in my marriage, explaining to my wife why someone named Sally Mae was taking $1,000 out of our bank account every month.
There you have it. Take it all. And first to you, Rick. Should Hillary supporters be worried about a running between Marco Rubio?
Well, look, I mean, you know, anybody who's not worried about who the opposition may be is kidding themselves. Hillary will likely be the nominee, but, you know, she's got to campaign successfully against whoever the Republicans nominate. I think Marco Rubio would be a formidable candidate. I think there's enough problems that he has. Look, you know, his key problem, in my estimation, is he wants to present himself on being on the right side of the party, maybe a Tea Party or whatever. But when he talks, he's much more of a centrist. Will that help him or hurt him in a general election? I'm not sure, but I think he is the most difficult to figure out how the campaign goes, and that's probably what's a little bit disturbing to the Democrats.
Last 20 seconds to you, Ford.
Generational contrast. Understand something else. The Clinton camp is scared of Marco Rubio. How do I know? Senator Harry Reid's calling for him to resign from the Senate today.
Well, they might be scared in the Clinton camp if all they have are these gender politics games she keeps playing and accusing Rubio of mansplaining there in that video. So we'll see. Rick and Ford coming back.
Yes, we're all out of time for this round of our round table, but when we return with Ford and Rick, we're going to talk about the debate, including Ben Carson's exchange with the moderator. Remember this one over the nutritional supplement company. Plus, we'll play our favorite. We haven't done this forever, guys. Real or fake? The debate version. That's all coming up next on Newsmax Now. Also, Halloween may just be a couple of days away, but the trick-or-treating started early. Coming up shortly on Newsmax Now, we'll treat our roundtable to a few of the headlines that tricked some of our viewers and the ones that you probably thought were fake, but actually turned out to be real. Feel free to play along during our Thursday edition of Real or Fake. That's all coming up after today's roundtable. You're watching Newsmax Now.
Returning for the roundtable, Republican strategist Ford O'Connell and co-host of the Daily Wrap right here on Newsmax TV, Rick Ungar.
Last night, one of the moderators during the debate confronted Dr. Ben Carson about his relationship with a controversial company, Mannatech. The company has been involved in marketing fraud, saying its products can cure cancer. Let's take a listen to Carson's explanation of his relationship with this company.
You were on the homepage of their website with the logo over your shoulder.
If somebody put me on their homepage, they did it without my permission.
Does that not speak to your vetting process or judgment in any way?
No, it speaks to the fact that I don't know that it's going on. The wonderful thing about a company like Mannatech is that they recognize that when God made us, He gave us the right fuel.
All right, that last bit was from a Mannatech ad. Rick, you could hear, prior to that, the audience booing the moderator for asking that question, but in his speeches, Carson does not abandon the use of modern medicine. He just says he uses the product. So when he made that comment last night saying he wasn't aware of being on the front page, and then we see that ad, is he telling the truth? And then does it matter?
Well, it's hard to know if he's telling the truth or not. I find it hard to believe that he didn't know that he was on the cover. As somebody who was involved with that kind of a thing as a lawyer for so long, it's rare that that happens where somebody uses your name and likeness and doesn't tell you, let alone pay you. But look, I mean, does it matter? I don't think it's a big deal. It was a piece of background information. I didn't know that he had that relationship with the company before that. But is it going to really impact on people's votes or how they perceive him? No, not really.
What do you think, Ford?
Ooh, I disagree here with Rick. I don't think it matters whether or not he's telling the truth. What I think matters here is that he didn't have a quick, smart, nimble answer to come up and answer the question. And yes, I do think Cantonese is absolutely right when you say that also tells me as a political strategist a lot about your organization. Clearly they thought this might come up given the number of Mannatech videos that have been pulled offline. They tried to brush this up. I just can't believe they didn't come up with an answer. I don't think it's anything big, but it does show me a weakness on Ben Carson's side.
Well, obviously, it didn't really matter to the audience last night because they all booed for even asking the question. It just goes to show you, you know, what people actually care about. Another...
Well, John, I got to disagree with you again here.
All right, Ford, go ahead.
Let me say this about that. And the
Ford
reason
first,
is,
and you, Rick.
No, it does not matter now because Ben Carson's favorability is so high. Should Ben Carson get down to a final two, weaknesses in his personal background against Hillary Clinton will be a subject matter for the voter.
All right, real quick. Go ahead,
I just want to say I'm not a big Carson fan, not surprisingly, but you know what? I'm a little tired of these prepackaged, already planned, nimble answers.
Right.
You know, I think this is what part of his charm is that people think he doesn't do that. I don't necessarily think he was telling the truth in his answer, but I don't care that it wasn't quickly popped off with some smart,
and guys, and for me,
remark. He answered
and Ford, going back to your point, we're going to have to leave it here, but when you go back to your point, what matters more, some marketing deal that Ben Carson may or may not have had with a supplement company, or Hillary Clinton lying before Congress about what happened in Benghazi? I don't know. I think the other.
You're assuming it's a fair equivalent. She's the Democratic nominee. He's not.
All right, fair enough. Let's talk about Marco Rubio's.
She didn't lie before Congress. She didn't lie before Congress.
All right. We can argue that one, too. But let's talk about Marco Rubio and his exchange with John Harwood over his tax plan. Let's take a listen.
You give nearly twice as much of a gain in after-tax income to the top 1% as to people in the middle of the income scale. Since you're the champion of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, don't you have that backward?
No, you're wrong. In fact, the largest after-tax gains is for the people at the lower end of the tax spectrum under my plan.
You know what most people hear, I think, in that debate? They hear the teacher from Peanuts. Womp, 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 womp. Again, a substantive issue, I think, but it's totally lost on the debate crowd. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, that's unfortunate because that was supposed to be the point, was to have these people talk about economics. Didn't happen much except for the tax questions, and nobody did a good job of explaining what they had in mind. But I do have to point out, Marco Rubio was actually right in what he was saying. John Harwood was wrong and had actually corrected it in a Twitter. So I'm not sure where Harwood was coming from with that.
Ford, last word to you, 30 seconds. My point being is that these are not the right types of forums for this discussion on taxes.
Well, no, it's absolutely not the right type of forum because you got a 10-person simultaneous press conference going on and not an actual explanation for the right and right-leaning folks what the issues are and who supports what. So this becomes a personality contest and not getting tripped up.
All right, well, we got a special bonus
round. So what are debates supposed to be?
Lincoln Douglas debates. Let's go back in time.
But apparently no one seems to care about the issues. They care about strong personalities and who is more believable than the other person.
It's reality TV. Let's have the debates online. Unlimited time.
TV.
Let's get some substance in there. All right. We're going to have a special bonus round. Rick and Ford are coming back for Real or Fake. We haven't played in a while. We're looking forward to this. But meantime, let's move on.
Nothing that I think that she has done that I agree with. Doesn't mean she can't be a committed American. The fact is, we don't have to demonize people. We need to figure out ways to persuade people towards our cause.